Great. All right. So the first question we have is, considering that Tim always wears a hat, is a hat optional or is it required to attend this meeting? Tim, is everybody supposed to wear a hat?
No, I look the best in it when I'm alone, so I want to just keep it to me.
That's an actual question that came in this morning, so I wanted to get to it ahead of time. Well,
where did you get that Santa Claus parade picture from?
Dude, that is like classic. We're keeping that. We're going to put that on the homepage. Google's great.
That is fantastic.
All right, so here are some of the latest PD facts, PD Avengers facts. We have 2,754 members from 61 countries, which is amazing. Maybe in the chat, you could say which country you're from, so we can see all the different countries that we have here today with over 100 people, with exactly 100 participants here today, right now. And wait, oh, look at the chat. Okay, somebody monitor the chat for me, please. We have over 50 partners now, and I'm very excited to announce that we have pulled aboard the Fox Foundation, and they are now partners of ours, and we're finalizing that. We also have the APDA, which is very exciting, and all their member groups. So all the local APDA groups are now part of the PD Avengers. Associazione Italiano, this is a YOPD group in Italy, which has joined us. Impact Parkinson's, which is a group in the British Columbia, along with the Parkinson Society of British Columbia, and the Surrey Neuroplasticity Clinic, and they work with really advanced technology in helping people change the neuroplasticity, and they've got a device where they actually use the nerves in your tongue to help the nerves in your brain, and so can help people with concussions, but also they're finding they're having success with some people with Parkinson's and their gait by vibrating their tongue, which is really amazing. And I've been there, and it's quite an experience. So excited to have these folks on board. There's probably another 5 or 6 that are in the works. And we've got a full page of them. If you go to the website and you look at partners, we're very proud of the list of partners and all the partners that have come on board since the very beginning, such as Brian Grant Foundation, the Davis Finney Foundation, the Parkinson's Foundation. You know, we're really excited and proud to be partners with all of these people. The Parkinson's UK, Parkinson's, the Cure Parkinson's, EPDA, APDA. I mean, there's so many great organizations. And so all the work that you're doing is making a huge difference. And our job here is to amplify that. So we need to continue to grow our numbers, and we need to continue to grow our social media. And I just wanted to give everybody sort of a look at where we're at. If you're not following us on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and YouTube, and you use those, please do make a point to join those. Sorry, I was just letting a few more people in. And share it. You know, one of the things that we need to do is we need to invite our friends and our family and our coworkers to be PD Avengers. This is not just a person with Parkinson's thing. We need to grow our numbers. As we grow our numbers, we get more influence. And we're doing well. We're growing. You know, we've had in the last 30 days, 6,000 page views on our website, 2,500 unique visitors. And if you compare that to the lifetime, which is since last August, you can see the growth and how the percentages, the last 30 days has been a pretty significant as far as the lifetime. And we're not even a year old. So, we're still a fawn trying to find our footing, but there's some exciting things going on. As I said, we do add urgency to research, wellness, and advocacy by uniting people and organizations to the cause of ending Parkinson's. And to that end, I do want to go, and I'm going to turn off my screen now for a minute. I want to, I'd like to call upon some people to talk about some of the initiatives that we have going on. We do have some working groups, and we want to explain sort of how we are going about our business. I will share a couple of things from the advocacy standpoint, and then I'll pass it along. We are in the middle of the Red Letter campaign. For those of you who have participated in the Red Letter campaign, thank you. This is an initiative that was brought on by the authors of the Ending Parkinson's Disease book. They are what inspired us to create the PD Avengers. There's the book right there. Thank you, Roger. And it's a phenomenal book. There is if you go to our YouTube, you can see the webinar that we did on last Tuesday. We had 16,000 letters go out. Our goal was 10,000, and they went to the White House, and they were asking for the continuation of Medicare covering what's it called? The distance doctoring. What's it? I've got a telemedicine. Sorry, just in a Parkinson's moment. And then they're asking for the telemedicine and the investment in research by 10 times the amount that they currently do. Right now, I've got the numbers here fresh. The burden, the financial burden of Parkinson's just in the United States alone is $54 billion a year, and they only invest $250 million in research. So they're looking to have that times 10. And the other thing that they were asking for is a ban of paraquat, trichloroethylene, and other toxic chemicals by the EPA.
Larry, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but people are wondering if more people can be let in, or do we cap at 100?
I think our plan probably caps at 100.
I think we capped it at 100. We are recording this session, and so we will share this session.
Okay, fair enough.
Next time we will expand our subscription. I didn't realize it capped at 100. So this is a record-breaking event.
Who knew?
Fair enough.
Hey, you got to be on time or you miss out, right? Early bird gets the worm. And then, so that's really exciting. If you have the capability and the contacts to send 100 of these red letters, you can contact the info at endingpd.org, info@endingpd.org, and they will set you up with 100 of these red letters. You can pass them out to your friends and your neighbors and your family. Send those in through the end of April. We're hoping to get 100,000. If you do 100, you become an ambassador of Ending Parkinson's, of Give a Dime campaign, and they'll put you on the website with your picture and whatnot and celebrate you, and we will celebrate you, because that's a huge deal. If we can get 100,000 letters to the White House, and it can be from anywhere. It doesn't have to just be from the United States. And then the idea here is that we'll turn the attention of the Red Letter campaign to different governments around the world, or different entities around the world over the course of time. So hopefully, if Canada has something to push in June, maybe we do that. If we have an initiative in Europe that we want to get behind, we'll do that. If there's Parkinson's Africa needs our help, then we'll send red letters there too. We could also do it per state. So there's a lot of different ways that this could happen and this could proceed. So I'm excited about that, and the doctors are willing to work with me on that. And the other thing is, as far as the writing letters, yesterday you may have seen a video that I put up, and I can try to show it here. I don't know if it'll work. Video kind of gets crazy on Zoom, but if you go to our YouTube or you go to social media pages or our website, and you look for the video, I sent a letter to the United Nations Secretary General, and I don't think I have it here. Maybe I can reprint down. I don't think I just checking. Make sure I don't have it here. I don't have it right in front of me. Sorry, but it's on our website. It's on the blog. So if you go to, okay, let's see if we can admit some more people here. I'm gonna try.
Have it, Larry. Do you want me to read it out while you admit some people?
Sure. If people leave, I'm admitting more, so we'll see.
Okay, let me just read it out.
Good.
Okay, so Excellency, I have the honour to send this letter on behalf of the PD Avengers, a global alliance of people living with Parkinson's disease, our partners and friends from more than 60 countries, standing together to demand change in how the disease is seen and treated. I'm writing to you inspired and encouraged by the role of the United Nations in creating a healthier, happier and more sustainable world. We are respectfully requesting that the United Nations consider observing the 11th of April as World Parkinson's Day and the week in which 11th of April occurs as Parkinson's Awareness Week. 11th of April is the anniversary of the 1755 birthday of James Parkinson. His published essay of Shaking Palsy in 1817 was the first detailed look at the disease. 11th of April has been marked as World Parkinson's Day since 1997 to bring needed attention to this disease, which afflicts people without prejudice in every continent, ethnicity, race, colour, class and culture. The World Health Organization reports the global burden of neurological and neurodevelopmental conditions is high, with approximately 70% of the burden in low and middle income countries. Neurological conditions are the leading cause of disability adjusted life years and the second leading cause of death globally, accounting for 9 million deaths per year. WHO also declares Parkinson's disease is the world's fastest growing neurological condition. There is no cure. Globally, more than 10 million people know they have the condition. Many more live with it, but without diagnosis due to the lack of access to a medical professional. Parkinson's is a misunderstood disease and lack of awareness makes people with Parkinson's vulnerable and discriminated against. People with Parkinson's earn less money, have difficulty obtaining and retaining employment despite qualifications and ability. They often have to retire early due to the symptoms of the disease. People with Parkinson's are often mistaken for being intoxicated and in some countries are considered to be cursed by witches. Many PWPs live in constant pain. They often lose their voice, their confidence, the luxury of sleep, and their ability to control their automatic functions, their limbs, and their future. Additionally, the mainstream drug to help... The mainstream drug to help manage Parkinson's is levodopa. It was discovered before the crew of Apollo 11 reached the moon. Yet there are thousands of people with Parkinson's living in poverty across the world, sometimes making the brutal choice between food for their family and medication for themselves. With a prescription of levodopa, people with Parkinson's can continue to work, be a partner, a parent, and contribute to society. World Parkinson's Day is on the 11th of April. This year, it is also the first day of Parkinson's Awareness Week. Today, the United Nations does not recognize either the day or the week. We are humbly and respectfully requesting World Parkinson's Day and Parkinson's Awareness Week be added to the list of other causes the United Nations does currently observe on their days of recognition. Additionally, we are requesting each of the member states of the United Nations to support our call. The pledge of the United Nations is for peace, dignity, and equality on a healthy planet. We humbly request that you consider making the Parkinson's community part of this pledge. To recognise World Parkinson's Day and Parkinson's Awareness Week would be a major step in raising awareness and reducing the vulnerability of people living with Parkinson's. Parkinson's is a life sentence that is taking away our health. We should be grateful if you could support our call to keep our dignity and formally encourage the General Assembly to consider recognising 11th of April as World Parkinson's Day and the week of which it occurs Parkinson's Awareness Week. Please accept, Excellency, the assurances of my highest consideration, Larry Gifford.
Yeah. So that came together over the weekend with Gary Shaughnessy and Sabella. Thank you for your insights. We realized that, and we realized we didn't have a lot of time, and so we've reached out to uh, people in 60 different countries that are PD Avengers to help with us, but you can also help with us. We will be adding a link to the blog. We haven't added it yet, and maybe Sabella or somebody can add it who has it into the chat. It's a directory of who so you can find out who your ambassador is. You can take my letter, you can write your own version of it in your own language, your own tone and tenor and your own needs. You tell your story and ask your ambassador to support this as well. And I would do that this week if you could, because it's going to be important to get it to them before the 11th of April. But that's a thing. Like if we can get the United Nations to recognize it, and with this group of people, you think about the, we have almost 3,000 members. And if we can get the United Nations to do something, if we can get the United States to do something with just 3,000 people, imagine what we can do when we're 10,000 people.
Yes.
Imagine what we can do when we're 50,000 people. Imagine what we can do when we're 1 million people strong. We have power in numbers, but we need your help to grow. And so as we go along, think about what are some things we can do to help grow our membership. I would like to pass it on to Sonia, and I know Rochelle wants to talk as well, Sonia, about the women's group. So if the two of you would like to take over the research, and that would be great. The research group.
Sure. Well, let's start, since Rochelle wants to also participate, which I'm happy about. Just start with the women in PD. We identify that there's a real lack of research and knowledge about women and Parkinson's disease in terms of the hormonal effects on Parkinson's, in terms of the social aspects that involve women and Parkinson's. There's really a paucity of research and evidence that that is linked to this area of concern. If you ask movement disorder specialists and neurologists, very few seem to know how to manage women in terms of their hormonal status. And that's something that anecdotally and through a survey that Rochelle will speak about has really shown to be a concern for women in our community. So seeing this as a really an important area to assess, and the need is there in our community, we sort of just devised a bit of a group to look into how we can address this issue. And I'll let Rochelle take it from here, so she'll tell you a little bit more about the survey that she initiated and some of the work that we're going to be following up on.
Okay, thanks a million. Larry, can I share some slides? Hello? Can I share?
Yeah, I just made you the host.
Great, thanks a million. So just, okay. Hey, sorry, I didn't have time to do it in the PD Avengers slide, so I just went with this. So let me just go from the beginning. Can you see that? Yeah, okay. So basically, yeah, just following up on what Sonia said there, obviously, yeah, it was to look at a focus of women with Parkinson's disease. So I'm just going to give you a bit of a backdrop to why we did the survey, and then about maybe doing a Women with Parkinson's campaign for the World Parkinson's Week. So I suppose in terms of backdrop, I don't know if people are aware, but there are research papers out there that show, in terms of the differences, that there's quite distinct differences between men and women in terms of their motor and non-motor symptoms. The prevalence is 60% men to 40% women, but interestingly enough, in countries like Taiwan and Japan, it's actually 50-50. So there's something that is different, and they don't know whether it is to do with things like smoking levels or alcohol levels or estrogen, in terms of soya or what it might be. That's the difference in those countries. But it's quite interesting that the prevalence is the same in those countries versus the West. So I suppose that, the other big area is in terms of on Twitter, there was a bit of a conversation that was going on about the effect of hormones on women's symptoms. And a lot of women, I'm a member of many different Facebook groups, and, you know, time and time again, the question keeps coming up, you know, do you find that your symptoms get much worse around your menstrual cycle? Do you find that your symptoms get worse around perimenopause? You know, does your symptoms get better with HRT or not? So there's this conversation is going on amongst women on a regular basis. And it came up on Twitter, and I kind of engaged with it, and a few other people engaged with it. And this logo actually was a gentleman who is has Parkinson's, and he was like, God, I think one of the ladies said, it's 1 in 4. So basically 1 week out of every 4, basically women with Parkinson's symptoms just go off the rails because of their periods. And he kind of came up with this logo, which was, 1 in 4, we deserve more. So it kind of got the cogwheels, going in terms of, really we should do something like this, because, women mention it regularly. And from a research point of view, just to explain, when women have the week before women have their menstrual cycle, basically their estrogen levels drop hugely. And that basically is associated with dopamine. It affects the way dopamine works in the brain. And that's, often why women have the worsening of symptoms. And I suppose the other thing is, in terms of, there is some research to show that women who take HRT during their perimenopause may slow progression, is a big may, slow progression of their disease. And also it is why men, one of the reasons why they say men have a higher prevalence is because women tend to develop Parkinson's in the main, unlike myself as young onset, but in the main they develop Parkinson's after the menopause, because estrogen drop leaves them more. So basically it's the estrogen that has this neuroprotective effect. So there's potential within doing research in this area to find out if there's something that could work for not just women, but for men as well. And it's looking at precision medicine, sort of looking at those differences to see if we can get a therapy that would benefit all. That's one thing, but also it's the fact that women basically are suffering for at least 1 week out of every month with their Parkinson's, on top of their symptoms of Parkinson's being bad enough as it is. So that sort of led on to doing a survey. And the reason kind of did this survey was there was an International Women's Day a couple of weeks ago, and it was around, the theme was really challenging bias and bias in terms of women in all sorts of different areas, and we felt that this was something to raise maybe in terms of the bias in research, that maybe aren't focusing on women, and that there's benefit to look at research for the 50% of the population that are out there that can benefit all of us. So anyway, we put a survey together. So 67 people, women with Parkinson's, have filled this in. It was very quickly done for International Women's Day, and we want to sort of push it out more to get the numbers up. But just going to go through, because it's quite interesting, the results of the survey. So the first question is, do you suffer from worsening of Parkinson's symptoms around your menstrual period? So you can see here, over 80% said yes. Of your symptoms around your menstrual period, we asked which motor symptoms get worse. So you'll see here the bradykinesia, the rigidity, the tremor and dystonia were the particular, but the rigidity was particularly bad. In terms of the non-motor symptoms, you'll see here fatigue, anxiety, interesting enough, passing more urine, depression, apathy. Now, a number of these things would be common to sort of symptoms that you'd feel when you have your cycle anyway. But it's, as you can see, it sort of has this double whammy for women with Parkinson's. If your symptoms worsen around your menstrual cycle, when do they seem to worsen? So you'll see that the majority was a week before, which ties in with the research showing that it's the estrogen drop that has the main effect. And then we asked about perimenopause. So perimenopause means basically around the menopause, and refers to the time during which your body is making the natural transition to menopause, marking the end of your reproductive years. So we asked the question, if you're perimenopausal, do you notice your symptoms fluctuating? So you'll see there a good number, 64% said yes. And then in terms of, did you notice that your symptoms are more difficult to control around your perimenopause? And again, it's quite a high level, 72% said yes. Then we asked about if you've gone through the menopause, do you feel your symptoms are better, about the same, or worse? So in terms of this question, there was only probably about, I think it was 8 people who answered this. So the results, don't really give a trend. With that number, you can't really see anything for definite. And the research would show that often with menopause, people worsen their symptoms, but it might be that that's not the case. And obviously we need research to kind of back that up. We asked if any of you had hormone replacement, and again, it was only a small number. I think it was about 4 people. If you're on HRT or had HRT, were your symptoms better, about the same, or worse? And again, you'll see there in terms of the numbers, sorry, my dog has just come in. So you'll see again, and these numbers are quite small again. So we need kind of more numbers to kind of see more of a trend there. And if you're on HRT, did you start during the menopause or after? So you'll see most started during the menopause. So just the last 2 questions, which were particularly interesting, is has your neurologist ever discussed your hormones and the possible impact on your PD symptoms? And a whopping 87% said no. Has your neurologist ever adjusted your medications around your menstrual cycle? Almost 100% said no. Has your neurologist ever suggested HRT? 95% said no. Has your neurologist ever discussed the perimenopause or menopause and its possible effects on PD with you? And again, 94% said no. So I think really what this was really highlighting was that there's a very big need in terms of women suffering day to day with their symptoms, and the conversation not been had, and it to a certain extent been ignored, whether it is the women are not mentioning it or the neurologists. But I think it's something that we feel quite strongly could improve women's lives, day to day living, if you consider that, as say, at least 1 week. And I can tell you as a woman, my symptoms have been affected by Parkinson's around my menstrual cycle, and it takes you the week you're flattened, and then it takes you a week to get over it. So that's like half of the year basically that you are kind of flattened, and you're trying to deal with work or family or older people or various different things that people are trying to manage along the way. So we kind of said, look, maybe we should have a bit of a campaign around this for World Parkinson's. So we were talking about, and this is just kind of giving you a potential women's with Parkinson's kind of timeline, the idea to raise awareness of the needs of women with Parkinson's, to start focus on treatment and research. So the first event would be to do a webinar on the 14th of April during Parkinson's Awareness Week, maybe to do partner webinar blog posts, have a webinar which would be European-based speakers, which at the moment we have confirmed speakers, and Helen Matthews from the Cure Parkinson's Trust has kindly offered to host the webinar. The next thing would be, potentially beginning of the week of the Parkinson's Awareness Week is to have a social media challenge. And there's 2 options, which I'll go through in a minute, and potentially a fundraiser linked to it. Now, PD Avengers, obviously, we have no means of which to raise money or that. But the thought was maybe to link it to, because we're an international kind of organization of grassroots people from all around the world, is possibly to link with the World Parkinson's Congress to have a research fund for women in Parkinson's research specific, that this campaign could go towards. So it's just an idea. And then the thought was maybe to continue on the kind of campaign over the rest of the year, having a US based webinar in September, December, and then looking at maybe Japan and India. They're just, suggestions, and maybe culminating with a Women in Parkinson's event at WPC. And again, it's all that, is just kind of some ideas at the moment. So finally, just in terms of the webinar, the key people involved for the European focused webinar is Professor Elena Mauro, who is the Secretary General of the European Academy of Neurology and has done research in women and Parkinson's, and actually did a paper just in 2020 about women and neurological conditions. Dr. Maria Teresa Ferretti is the co-founder and Chief Scientific Officer of the Women's Brain Project, which focuses a lot on basically women's neurological conditions, Alzheimer's, MS, migraines, which they have predominant female focus, but they're very interested in the Parkinson's side because there's a lot of crossover. Then there's Louise Ebenezer, who is a clinical specialist nurse who was recommended, and she is based in Wales, and she actually emailed me and said that she has a lot of women who mentioned this in her clinic. And then the idea is to have a Parkinson's advocate. So Dr. Kathy Mullen, who's based in Germany, was a WPC ambassador in Kyoto, is going to do that. And then it will be moderated by myself as a founding member of the PD Avengers with the other 13, I think it was. And I'm a WPC ambassador for Barcelona. And question mark, we're hoping, we've been in contact with Bas Blum, that there might be a female gynecologist who's done work with him around women in Parkinson's. So we're hoping that we might get her involved as well. And then in terms of social media challenge, it's a kind of work in progress in the moment, but the idea was to do a kind of 5 for 5. So people are probably familiar with the ice bucket challenge, and obviously we're not going to do that because it's, you know, an ALS known challenge. But in Ireland, we did an ice squat challenge, a sort of small campaign, which is basically where you put a bowl of ice water on your head and you have to squat 5 times. And believe you me, it's quite difficult. And it's quite fun because people sort of, you know, it falls on them. But the idea is to kind of focus on the fact of balance, you know, that it's a challenge for us. Or there was another option, which was doing a plank for Parkinson's. So there are some fun things you can do with music where you do a few different versions of the plank. And the idea being is to try and get out of our own echo chamber and to kind of include other, you know, friends and family and people outside us through different networks, through, you know, female neurologists, you know, basically championing the sort of the needs of women with Parkinson's. And I suppose in a way it also then highlights, busts the myth that it's just an older man's or older person's disease as well, and that it affects, you know, women of all ages. So that was kind of it. So I'll just close it out there.
Great, thank you. Can Rochelle, there is a question about, did you ever, in the research, had you asked if anybody had positive effects?
Had we, sorry, ask that again?
You had asked if they had any negative effects around their cycle. Did you ask if anybody had any positive effects around their cycle?
I didn't specifically ask the positive, but you can see from the results that there was a small percentage that weren't affected by their menstrual cycle.
Yeah.
And that is a question that we need to ask. Like, is that actually some kind of difference between that group of women to the women who do, you know? So it's a bit like the fact that some people suffer from, you know, more bowel symptoms and others suffer from, you know, different, and is there a kind of particular subset of women with Parkinson's, you know? So that's where research, and Sonia might be able to speak to that. And this is coming from, this campaign is coming from the wellness, but the idea is to kind of champion the conversation so that there is a plan to do research, and Sonia can speak to that, you know, around the WPC and the women's, and to kind of, and I know also Ignacio, who I can't remember his surname, who's in our wellness group.
Nacho.
Yes, Nacho. He is looking at doing research around women as well. So yeah. So
yeah, it's a big topic. It came up at the last WPC. We talked about it, and nothing really brewed, but I'm glad we're getting into that conversation. Sonia, I know that we're also looking to combine efforts, because the one thing about the PD Avengers is we don't take on the research ourselves. We want to support what other people are doing, but we also like to suggest things to organizations. So
yes,
Sonia, why don't you talk about the connective tissue here?
Yeah, no, Larry, that's a very good point. I think just to address the question about the positive effects, I think that just speaks to the fact that this was a very preliminary questionnaire, which kind of leads us to believe that this area needs to be explored more, and that there needs to be more detailed questioning of the community about these issues. And that's where the connectivity comes in, because we don't want to duplicate the resources or the efforts. I mean, that's just counterproductive, and it's just a waste of time and resources for us to do that. So there are some initiatives being put forth by WPC and their YOPD working group in terms of developing a really comprehensive survey. Fox Insight is also looking into doing something as well, or partnering with someone else to develop a survey and looking at women in PD. So it's a matter of sort of organizing and bringing all the stakeholders together to try and promote each other's efforts as opposed to duplicating them.
And
so there's a lot.
I read in the comments that there's a Spanish group of YOPD women that have gathered and have started to do the same thing.
Yeah, Sabella was kind enough to introduce me to a group of wonderful women who have come together as a community to help support each other and sort of, be there as a support system for each other and information uh, resource as well. So that we're hoping to look at closer, and they could even serve as a model for other countries to do the same thing, because they did such a remarkable job of coming together and supporting women in general. But so that's what this is all about. This is what PD Avengers is about. It's bringing together organizations that are already working on the causes that we think are important as a Parkinson's community.
Is there anything else?
Can I just
go
ask a
ahead.
question?
Yeah.
Just in terms of if just one was to do a social media sort of challenge campaign, is there any thoughts on what people like out of the idea of so basically you put a bowl of water on your head and you have to squat down 5 times. So the idea is that you would then challenge 5 of your friends to do the same and then potentially donate to the research. I don't know if that's going to happen, that research side, but we can still do it as an awareness thing. There's that idea, or there is, where you do a plank. So I know people are familiar with, sorry, my dog out. Where you do a plank, I don't know if people are familiar with that. So
Yeah.
these are both things that are there to kind of strengthen people in terms of their balance and that. So I don't know if anyone
Maybe
has a
weigh in on the
view.
chat on that.
Is there, if people on the chat have any view of which they would think would be a better one to go with, it would be great to get your thoughts.
Yeah, so yeah, they're coming in. So yeah, if you have comments on that, go ahead and put it in there. That'll help Rochelle a lot as she tries to figure this out. This is great. This is grassroots. This is what, the whole idea here is that we look at what are some global issues that we can support and then activate locally. So and support those things that are happening in local communities. So if you notice something that you're like, you know what, I think a lot of people suffer from this or deal with this, those are the types of things that interest me and interest the PD Avengers, because we don't want to just be about one community, and we don't want to just be about one country. We want to solve Parkinson's. And we can only do that with your help and your observations and frankly, your advocacy. Tim, do you want to talk about the wellness or is there anything else in the wellness committee that you want to discuss?
Sure, thanks, Larry. And I'll go back to your earlier question briefly about who all was signing on here today. I think it's fascinating that we are all across the United States. We're all across Canada. I saw tons of places across Europe, Germany, Scotland. I shouldn't start naming places, UK. Saw Kenya. We are literally
Australia.
Just in this, Australia. So huge shout out to everybody who joined us. And of course, our sincere apologies to anyone who didn't get in. We'll work on fixing that for next time. But who knew we'd have over 100 people?
Yeah, that's great.
Fabulous problem to have. So thank you everyone who came, and thank you for sharing this broadly with your friends. So yes, the other portion of wellness that I will throw in now, I don't think Kat is here. I was looking for her on the chat. I don't think she's here, so I will speak up here for her. Wellness will be working with research with the Women in Parkinson's issue that we've been talking about. So that's kind of a short-term piece that they'll be dovetailing together and working with. Long-term, we're still talking with Omatola Thomas and Parkinson's Africa about how we can work together with them in letting the world know that like only 10 to 12% of people in Africa, if my stat is correct, I probably shouldn't use a stat unless I really check it, but yes, I believe it's accurate, have access to Parkinson's medications. And so the goal is for Omatola to expand the ability to get meds into Africa to people who have absolutely no access. And so we'll be working with her long-term as to how we can help her. And I don't have a whole lot more than that, but it is exciting to me, and I hope that we can do a lot in that vein.
Thanks, Tim. Yeah, I will just add that when she launched Parkinson's Africa, she did a fundraiser. People came together and raised $10,000. She was able to get $10,000 worth of Cinemet into Africa. They're looking to get 20,000 doses this year. I think they have a grant for that. So it's growing, and that's a great organization. And with the help of some of the other partner organizations, they're teaming up together. And so that's what we like to see, is we like to connect people that have common interests. And to your point of looking to help the middle to low income countries, the PD Avengers will be represented at the WHO Forum on Parkinson's next month. I've been invited to attend the workshop. It's a 2-day workshop that they are focusing on how do we better serve the Parkinson's community worldwide, especially in the low to middle income countries. The fact that they have organized this first ever Parkinson's Forum at the WHO, the World Health Organization, is amazing. Unfortunately, I won't be able to go to Vienna. It'll be on Zoom, but I will. I'll feel jet lag because it's at 4 in the morning, so it's same experience. But I'm really the fact that we've got the official invitation to that is just goes to show what the power of numbers does, and how we've caught the attention of the world. And so let's motor forward. We do have the virtual WPC. The registration for that is coming up April 1st. And that's going to be a great event coming up this spring. And I want to go to Jane. Jane, can you talk about the GDNF group and the work that you're doing, the fundraising?
All right. So I hope I'm off mute. Yeah, I think I am. Thank you. So we're working with Parkinson's UK, Cure Parkinson's, and Funding Euro. We had a look at the figures in a very similar way to America in terms of the amount of money that is spent through our government on neurological research. And it's absolutely pitiful. So we've put a petition together in order to be able to lobby the government and get a better proportion of the spend. So I'm not very good with the figures, but it's laid out in the petition, and I've just put the link for the petition into your chat so that people can take a look at the detail. But you know, we just all need to work together on this. So if you're out there and you think, what can I do to help? One of the things that you can do is click on the petition, sign the petition, and share the petition, because we've got to get a bigger portion of this spend, and we've got to get this money well spent.
That's great. And then I would like to address a couple of things. We will be having what was going to be a 24-hour live video stream on World Parkinson's Awareness Day with broadcasts from every time zone around the world. We're going to simplify it a little bit because that seems very difficult to organize and coordinate, especially when you have Parkinson's. It's just mind-bending. So if you are somebody or an organization who has a great video, email me, larry@pdavengers.com. We're going to upload videos to a YouTube channel, and we're going to have a streaming YouTube channel with videos from around the world showing what life is like with Parkinson's where you live, or what unique exercise or activity do you do to help you with your Parkinson's. I like to do improv comedy. Some people like to do square dancing. Some people like to do poetry. So show us what you're doing. Show us your group. Show us, you have a choir. We'd love to hear you sing. So whatever it is, we'd love to showcase different videos from around the world so we can learn about what's happening, what medications are available to you where you live, or what are the benefits or the pain points for having Parkinson's in your country or your city. And so it would just be great if you could contribute to that. And then we'll send out a link, and you can watch all of them. And hopefully, you know, we can load up as much material as we'd like. And as the PD Avengers, we will then be part of this bigger global event. I've been coordinating with the Davis Finney Foundation and with the Brian Grant Foundation. We're reaching out to other foundations in North America. It's being organized on the UK side by Alex and David Sangster and the folks at Parkinson's UK and Cure Parkinson's Trust. So we want to get, I know Parkinson's New Zealand and Australia are involved. So if you want to get involved or your group wants to get involved, email me and then we'll coordinate how to get me the video and we'll upload it, or I'll give you a link and you can upload it. Make sense? I need the videos as soon as you can get them because it's coming up quickly. So let's say a deadline by the 6th of April. I just made that up. So if it's the 7th, I suppose I'll still take it, but we need time to upload and make sure that they're good to go. So the sooner the better. And oh, thanks, Jane. There's a good website there for the GDNF group. And so we've been, we unfortunately have pulled our support on the Race the Moon. And I want to address that. I don't know a lot of details. I wish I did. But we were supporting that like we do. You know, we don't throw events, we just support events. And this was an event that was backed by Sport Parkinson, Parkinson's UK, and the Cure Parkinson's. And they all pulled their support because they got into some sort of disagreement with or conflict with the people that were running the event. And they were having troubles early on, I know, especially, and I think it continued, is what the problem is they weren't catering to people with Parkinson's. They are an outfit that does like real bicycle races and they monitor things, and people that were having motorized bikes were being told they couldn't use them. And I'm like, I don't think the moon's going to mind if we cheat. I don't think it'll complain, but they weren't really listening to us. And so that's a problem. And so we didn't want that to be a bad experience for everybody. So I followed suit and I pulled our support in line with our partners. So you may have gotten the latest e-blast about that, and I apologize. Just forget about it, or you can do it if you want. You can keep doing it. We're just not going to participate as an organization. And then I'd be interested to hear if there's any other activities going on that we should be aware of. I do want to take some, you can put them in the chat and we can read them out. I've got a couple of questions here that I'll read out that came beforehand. This is from Andreas Schaar from Stuttgart, Germany. Hello, Larry. I like the PD Avengers being a worldwide movement without national borders. Would you prefer to leave the organization centralized in Canada, or would you prefer to have national satellites to manage particular national interest? What do you think about making the website multilingual with neuro-machine translation? Yeah, and I love the idea of that. We are, Sonia and Tim and I happen to be in Canada. We do have a first hub that we're experimenting with in Scotland, where we have a leader there. The idea here is we would have hubs all around the world and maybe in all 50 states. And so because we're not on the ground there, we don't know what the needs are there. We're not the executors on the ground. You know, you guys know better than we do. What we can do is give you the global vision, and then we execute locally. And so that's a great idea. I want to work with you with that, Andreas. And we should get you connected with Sabella, who is our translation expert. Sabella, are you in contact with Andreas?
I believe we are, aren't we, Andreas?
Yeah. So let's connect on that. I've seen a mock-up of what he's done, and you can translate the website into any language pretty much automatically, which would be tremendous. The next question is from Anais Josephine. Hello, 32 years young, diagnosed with YOPD 4 years ago. My question for today is, what is the most valuable thing that you have learned since being diagnosed? I'm going to throw that to Sonia because she's been diagnosed longer than me.
Who said that question?
Anais?
Anais, I was diagnosed at age 28 as well. That was over 22 years ago. So there's hope, definitely hope. I think the most important thing to know is that you have to be an active participant in order to live well with this disease. You have to take control over those variables that you do have control over. It's a lot that we don't have control over, but we do have control over doing things like exercise, nutrition, stress relief, and sleep management, these sorts of things. Keeping socially active and engaged, I think is really important. Building your support team, building your medical team as well. But that's probably the most important things that I've learned over the years.
Yeah, and some of the things that people have learned, exercise is crucial. Find a great MDS and build your support team. You know, be your own advocate, I think.
Yeah.
What a great community we have, right? Like that surprised me more than anything, that you guys are nice people. I just,
And the other thing I wanted to add, Larry, is that, you know, feel free to contact me through my website, unshakablemd.com, and I'd be happy to talk more to you about that.
yes. And I want to tell Tomas Lasota that I got all 6 of your questions, and I understand most of the words that you used, but you're speaking a very research language. So I'm going to send it to our research team, and they will be in touch with you. Because I'm not sure I know the pros and cons of ketosis. So we'll get back to you on that. Does anybody else want to add anything or have a question? If you do, raise your hand and I'll look for you. It should come up in my participant panel. Questions, anybody?
I think Tomas has a question.
Oh, hello, Tomas. Well, let me unmute you. Hang on.
Hello.
Oh, there you go. Hello.
Hello. I'm the guy with the 6 questions.
Great.
Right. Hello, everybody. Recently, I've been reading an article about Alzheimer's disease. And I'm not sure if you are aware, but there was I think in 2018, there was a very famous publication in The Lancet about the set of the exercise, diet, and cardiovascular maintenance regarding improvement of cognitive impairment. And the results were very promising. So perhaps we could do something similar as a community regarding Parkinson's disease. I mean, it's a huge challenge, but since these guys could do it, I think we could do it as well. I mean, I think it's my 3rd question or 2nd one.
That's great, Tomas. Do you think you could send me or put the link for that study in the chat?
Sure. I'll do it right away.
That would be great. We can look into that.
No problem.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Does anybody else have a question? People are dropping off.
Gil Fellon is waving at you, Larry.
Oh, hey, Gil, waving at me.
Hey, man. Hold on. Oh, you've unmuted me. Okay, just to reiterate, my Me Over PD Foundation here in Macon, Georgia, launched early in January our Swiss Army knife of information for the newly diagnosed person with Parkinson's. It can be useful as people organize their activities. It's all the fundamentals. It's gotten good reviews from the likes of Michael Oken, and it's at www.meoverpd.org. Capital M, capital O, capital P, capital D.org. Have a look. It's could be valuable for your work.
That's great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Does anybody else have anything they want to add? If you go to livelifeamplified.com, this is a new, I think it's .com. It's hashtag Live Life Amplified. I think it's livelifeamplified.com or .org. It's a Medtronic event that's happening Thursday and Friday. It's free registration. It's I'll be speaking on Friday morning. Matt Eagles will be speaking on Thursday. And it's all about positivity and collaboration and cooperation and how to live a better life, how to tell your story, how to prepare yourself for being an advocate, frankly. And so if you're interested in that, it should be a great event. So Live Life Amplified. Anybody else? Okay. Well, I'm going to hang out. So if you have questions for me, I'll be here. But I thanks everybody for being here. I know we scheduled an hour and a half, but I'm sure everybody could use a half hour back in their life. So feel free to open your mics and talk to each other. And it's great seeing everybody. Thanks so much. Next time, we'll probably do a Facebook Live or something where we can get some more people in here, because frankly, it's not crowded enough. And none of us are wearing masks. We're all in trouble now. Look, we're not distanced at all. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Thank you.
People just want to hang out. I'm not going to dance or anything, I promise. Well, maybe I will.
Okay. Dance, dance, dance. Yay. Larry, I was thinking the book is very important. And I have a nephew who does characters for movies.
Oh,
And he's great. He was just nominated for an Oscar, the picture he was involved in.
wow.
And I asked him if he could develop, since the name is PD Avengers, and it's sort of like,
Yes.
if we could develop, imagine the pesticides being horrible things.
That would be
covering-
great.
And I live on a golf course. I
Oh.
live in Florida. So every time I see them spraying, but I can imagine if all the community, especially of people over 55 and over in Florida, started worrying about the pesticides
Yeah.
in their golf course, in their homes.
That would be amazing. Let's talk offline, Laura, and we'll connect
Yeah.
with Dr. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Oaken.
Okay. So
He's my doctor, by the way.
yeah. So we'll talk to Ray Dorsey about it and see if we can't make that happen.
Okay, sounds good.
Great. Thank you.
Mhm.
Larry,
Yeah.
hi, Sue here from Ontario.
Hello, Sue from Ontario.
I actually sent you an email before, just before the session today, so I don't know if you got to it yet. Just had a couple questions.
Okay.
They're kind of complicated. I don't expect an answer on the spot, but the main two questions are, the first one is, I'm in Northern Ontario and things suck up here for as far as movement disorder specialists, as far as Parkinson specific programs, anything like that. Like I lived in Toronto for 30 years. I think I've contacted you before. I used to work at Chorus actually.
Yeah.
And there was so much more opportunity down there. And there's people up here that have this disease and there's nothing, absolutely nothing for them. So I know that specialists come up here, like occasionally you'll get like maybe like a podiatrist or something will come up for a week, 3 or 4 times a year.
Right.
I'd like to look into, I know it would take, it's not going to happen overnight, but to get something like that arranged for somebody to come up here.
Yeah, I know my neurologist does that in British Columbia, where he'll go up north for 1 or 2 weeks every 6 months or whatever.
Yeah.
Sonia's in Ontario. She may know some programs.
Yeah, I think, Sue, what's probably going to be the most beneficial is telemedicine. So I think they're going to start developing. I know that I mean I go to Toronto Western for my care because I'm just in Ajax, and I know they have. I see my doc, Dr. Lang, through telemedicine right now because I'm not going downtown. So I think they're going to maintain that program, and hopefully the community neurologists will be on board. I mean, I think I feel for you because, you know, not having access to that care is very challenging. But I think we're going to see more telemedicine developing. I know that they're hoping to continue that at Toronto Western. So
it was difficult because I lived down there for 30 years. I had the
yeah,
but it was getting so difficult for me just to live down there. I'm on my own.
sure.
And it was just, the disease was progressing. It was harder for me. So I chose to come back up north, which is where I grew up.
Right.
So, but that leads to another question that I had. My neurologist and and some other neurologists I've spoken to have spoken very highly of a drug that's not available in Canada yet. It's called Rytary.
Yeah, it's not available yet.
And I actually contacted someone at Parkinson Canada. They said they had tried to contact the manufacturer to see if they had applied for licensing to market it up here. They had not heard back from them. So I contacted them.
Okay.
So what the heck, what could it hurt, right? So I emailed them and I got an answer within a few hours. They said they don't think of it as, basically it's not a moneymaker.
It's not a money-making market.
That's what they were basically trying to say. And I said, that just, excuse my language, but that just pisses me off when I hear stuff like that.
Yeah.
We're suffering just as much as anybody. There's so many alternative drugs, alternative treatment methods that are available stateside. It's like, what am I supposed to do? Go down there and to try a drug? Like my neurologist has a prescribing right. I think she trained in Texas. So she said, I can write you a prescription, but you've got to go to Texas to get it. I said, I'm pretty sure the course benefits won't cover that. So I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
So there's things like that too. Like, where do you start to take on like a behemoth like the drug company? Like, is it a waste of time? Is it like, where do you even start? Because we deserve those chances too. I understand it's moneymaker. I get that. That's my big beef about big pharma. But
so I think it starts with conversations with them, and what I'm trying to do, and Sonia's trying to do is we're trying to get in conversation with them. Sonia and I both had the opportunity to speak to a large group of people from the pharmaceutical field as members of the Michael J. Fox Foundation Patient Council. So I think there was 75 or 100 of them there. And we got to just talk frankly with them about how we feel about things. And it was very refreshing. And they felt they hadn't heard a lot of that stuff. And frankly, people who work in the research and development area, and people who work with medications, oftentimes they've never even met people with Parkinson's. So the fact that we were given that opportunity is great, and I've kept in touch with some of them since then. And it's an ongoing conversation. I know one of the groups is going to start just because I asked, I said, do you have a patient council that you can count on to advise you as you develop new technology, new health tech? They're like, no. And so this year they're
heck of an idea.
This year they're starting one, and it's going to be mandatory that they work with all the groups. So it's just little things like that that you have to continue to have those conversations. You need to call the pharmaceutical company and go, hey, why don't I have this? And if enough people do that, then maybe they'll see a market.
Yeah.
Okay. I just feel like I'm sitting here helpless doing nothing, and I don't even know where to start for some of these things.
Well, you started. Right. You picked up the phone and you called. That's the start.
Exactly.
And then share your story.
Right. Can I add something? Can you hear me, guys? Right. I think the another alternative could be off-label use of already used medications. For example, the GLP-1, glucagon-like peptide 1, which is used in diabetes for 15 years. Now it's tested for Parkinson's disease. So in this way, we're going to shrink the cost of new drugs, the safetiness of these drugs, and perhaps we could find a new solution. Like I've mentioned about this drug Ambroxol. This is for the also.
So kind of like repurposing something that's already gone through the approval
Yes,
process.
yes, yes.
Yeah,
So,
that's a very good point, and it's the focus of a yearly meeting that takes place between the Cure Parkinson's Trust and Van Andel Institute, where we look as a group at repurposing existing drugs, because you're right, we can sort of cut down the development time if we find something that's being used for something else and already passed safety studies. So there is a group of researchers and clinicians that look at these drugs on a yearly basis and decide through Cure Parkinson's Trust which ones they will support based on the evidence that's out there. But you're absolutely right. It's a area that needs to be pursued, and it is, as far as I know, continuing to be looked at on a yearly basis.
I do want to welcome about 25 people who were finally let in because we had a max out of 100 people. So we kind of went through our presentation. Now we're in the Q&A session, but we'll answer some more questions. And if you have any, if we have time, maybe we can go over some of those, some of what we covered in the meeting again.
If there's anything, if you need any patient viewpoints for anything, like especially the questions that I asked about, please contact me. I'm available. I'd like to help. I want to feel like I'm doing something.
Yeah, I
Thank
know
you
that
so
John
much.
was here from Parkinson Canada. Have you reached out to Parkinson Canada yet?
I have initially, when I was trying to find out information about Rytary, I was speaking to someone named Maria.
Okay, yes, Maria's no longer there, but they have a new president and CEO and sort of a new group running the show there. And I think they'd be interested to hear from you. They just launched their own patient council, which is great. And they're being very active right now.
Okay, I'll get in contact with them.
Great.
Thank you.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, can I say something, Gary? It's Sally from UK.
Sally, the best part is my name is Larry and you always call me Gary and I love it.
I didn't call you Gary. I called you, this time I called you Larry.
Okay.
Really, I've really enjoyed this evening. I've been muted and darkened all the way through because I've been in the car most of the time. I just wanted to let you know that I'm going to do some work with 5 medical students who want to find out more about Parkinson's, and they're going to be meeting my group. And I'm just so excited about it. And I just want to let you know, this is really, really very unexpected. And I've been asked to completely supervise them, which is fantastic. I'm really excited.
What are you going to have them do, Sally?
I beg your pardon?
You're going to supervise them doing what?
To do the study, to do this.
I thought they were going to come over and clean your house and.
Gary, Larry. Sorry.
Yeah, so what is the study again?
Well, this is a group. I'm an expert patient tutor, so patients go in and talk to the medical students about their neurological conditions. It is because there were so many students or new doctors having neurophobia. And so this guy has sort of introduced this. And I was doing this, they're examining me, and I just got fed up one day and I just said, look, this, all that you're testing me on doesn't bother me. What bothers me is I can't peel a potato, what I can't turn over in bed, I can't do this, I can't do that. And so I was trying to explain to them that this is what translating the problem into everyday living. And they got very, very interested. And so I've been doing a lot of work with that for the last few years. And now I've been asked if I will supervise a group of students to take their own study into something. It's just started literally last night, but it's just so exciting.
It is very exciting. Thank you for sharing. And you said you're a professional patient. So did you go to UPathy? Is that what you did?
I go in and these students examine us and try to work out what our neurological condition is. And it's just so interesting to do. And it's exciting because these young minds are curious, which is always, interesting. I thought I'd just let you know.
How did you get involved?
All because I was very, very concerned that too many of the members of the Oxford branch of Parkinson's UK had quite protracted diagnoses because the doctors didn't really understand, their GPs, they didn't understand when to contact the neuro departments. And so people had been suffering for 3 years on different medications, or they would say, you know, I've got the tremor. Oh, I haven't got a tremor. Well, you haven't got Parkinson's because you haven't got a tremor, or you haven't got Parkinson's because you haven't got it on both sides. All these misconceptions and all this, you hang your head in shame, don't you?
Yes.
When you hear about it. And I've been trying to work out how I could inform GPs about this. So I wrote a one-side paper of things they could do. So you wouldn't say to a patient, for example, do you dribble or do you have swallowing, losing saliva is sort of corner of your mouth. But I said, if you ask me like, is your pillow damp in the morning? I mean, it's a more gentler way to do it. So I've been trying to work out that. And then this guy started it in the team at the hospital here and told me what his hopes were. And I thought, this is the way in. This is the way in, is to go through the students who learn a bit more about everyday living with Parkinson's, and that can come into their practice in future life, whether or not they're neurologists, whether or not they're GPs. They will have a far rounded, more rounded approach to Parkinson's, I felt. So this has been going some years now, and it's all been published. It's very interesting.
That's great. Yeah, for those of you who just arrived, there was confusion about the start time, and I apologize for that. We did start at 6 o'clock GMT, not 7. I sent a follow-up note from this morning, but some of you may not have received it in time. We're in the Q&A portion of the session now. And so thank you for being here. And this is all recorded, so you can go back and watch the whole thing afterwards. I would like to see if anybody else has any other questions. And thank you, Sally. That was very awesome. It's a great example of how to get involved. You have to assert yourself. You have to ask questions. You have to, you have to advocate for yourself.
Yeah. Thank you, Gary. Larry. Barry. Scary.
Yeah, very.
Sorry.
All right. Anybody else? Speak up.
I wonder if we could dedicate one of the meetings about non-neurological symptoms, because Parkinson is not only the triad of bradykinesia, rigidity, and tremor. We have the whole array of symptoms like depression, UTI problems, balance, and eventually the memory and all these problems which are not concern of the neurologist. So that is why it is difficult to properly assess the patient solely by a neurologist. So maybe we could
For sure, yeah, we could bring in a guest speaker as well to that, but we're all probably experts on our own. There's over 40 different symptoms to Parkinson's, and most of them are non-motor. So that's and I like to explain it like poker, like we're all dealt a different hand. It's all coming from the same deck, but I would like to trade some of my cards if anybody's interested. I see, does Linda Bishop have a question? Somebody said Linda Bishop had a question.
Yes, can you hear me?
Oh, yes.
Right, all right, that's great. I talked to you the last time that we had one of these meetings about
the cane.
The cane. I just wanted to let you know where we were with it. It's rolling out, but it's rolling out slowly and locally, and there's a lot of enthusiasm and interest for the whole concept.
Great.
So we are going ahead, but it's very, very slow. Baby steps.
Well, that's one step at a time.
That's right, yes. So
go ahead.
no, it's all right. You're going to say something?
No, go ahead.
All right. The whole concept of the cane, I just want to make everybody very clear about this. It's not to sell it for profit. I mean, the money goes to research, but it's to create awareness, and it's doing that. It really is. It took a long time to get it, believe you me, between Brexit and the pandemic. We took 11 months to get the cane here, but it's here and we're really happy about it. So if anybody wants information about it, they can get hold of me at queenwasp@outlook.com.
queenwasp@outlook.com. Wow,
Yes.
that's a great
Powerful,
great
isn't it?
email. I think I remember that from last time. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you.
Mike Dowdy. I think I said that right. Doty? You have your hand up? And you're muted. There you go. I've asked you to unmute.
Unmute.
There you go.
Okay, am I unmuted?
You're unmuted.
All right. I'm interested in your podcasts. I've been getting the podcast from When Life Gives You Parkinson's. Do you have any other podcasts available?
Well, so the When Life Gives You Parkinson's is in season 3. And so thank you for listening. I appreciate it. There are other podcasts out there. I also host the Michael J. Fox Foundation podcast. But if you don't like me, Kat Hill has a podcast. Does anybody know the exact name of it? It's When Life Gives You Lemons. Is that what it is? Hang on. She's making lemonade. Hang on. Lemonade, Parkinson's. Let's see what comes up. Cat Hill. Does anybody else have any other podcast recommendations for Parkinson's? Oh yeah, she calls it PD Lemonade. PD Lemonade on the Apple Podcasts and wherever you get your podcasts. It's called PD Lemonade. And then there are a couple that have started and stopped. Gil, do you have one? Did I see you raising your hand?
No, I was just motioning to a friend.
Oh, well, hi.
Yeah, hi.
Does anybody else have any podcast recommendations? Let me do a quick search here. If anybody else has oh, I cannot minimize Zoom while I'm recording. Okay, don't hurt me. Hang on. Parkinson's podcasts. See what comes up. There's a fairly new one called Parkinson's and Me. There is one that is called The Two Mikes, Parkinson's podcast. Two guys named Mike who have a podcast about Parkinson's. I've been on it. It's great. And then, yeah, some of them pop up every now and again. What I suggest is you go into Apple or whatever your service is and just search for Parkinson's and see what comes up. Sometimes you'll get like single episodes from like a health podcast that does general health, but they focus on Parkinson's one episode, and that'll pop up, and that might be interesting to you. You know, coming soon on the podcast is Joy Milne, the woman who can smell Parkinson's, who's in the room right now, smelling us all. Hello, Joy. It's good to see you. Does anybody else have any questions?
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks for listening too. You're a great advocate.
Hasta la vista.
Hasta la vista.